Helping at this hour, Louisiana State Police recaptures a fifth escaped inmate from the Orleans Justice Center jail. 5 remain on the run. Here are the 5 remaining inmates on the run: Derek Groves, Antoine Massey, Lenton Van Buren, Jermaine Donald, and Leo Tate. The last arrest was Corey Boyd. He was captured Tuesday on Iberville Street. He was briefly spotted last Friday, just hours after that jailbreak, on a French Quarter surveillance camera. Boyd is accused of killing Brandon Fees during a car burglary in 2024. State police also posted pictures showing troopers transporting Corey Boyd to the state police air support helicopter on the parking deck of the Superdome. Now, Boyd was fitted with what is called a spit hood. It's become a common practice during these state police transports. Troopers took Boyd to a correctional facility outside of New Orleans. The last 4 fugitives captured were transported to the Angola State Penitentiary. State police say more than 200 law enforcement officers are still working to catch the remaining 5 escapees. So also new today, Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry appeared on Fox National News and says that the state corrections department is now conducting an audit of the Orleans jail to make sure proper procedures are in place to secure that facility. The governor says at this point he still believes the 5 remaining escapees are still in Louisiana.
You know, most of the intelligence that we receive says that they're certainly in the state, if not in the city. We put a $20,000 price on each one of them's head for anyone who will give us a tip that will lead to an arrest.